Well, hi there, everybody. My name is Letty Wilson, and this is our first Eco Not Ego Biz podcast. And today I've got the fantastic Helen Fisher with me. And we were just discussing beforehand about me doing an introduction for Helen. However, she has just such an array of skills and talent, and I tried to kind of encapsulate it in one sentence. So I'm going to hand over to you, Helen, to explain exactly who you are and what you do, and we will go from there.
Thank you very much, Nancy, and thank you for having me on your first podcast. It's a real privilege and honour to sit with you here.
Thank you.
So I'm Helen Fisher, and it amuses me that it's taken me quite some years to actually fine-tune the label of, to encapsulate everything that I do. So anyone else in business, you may find this, especially when you're on media. So what I do is I'm a spiritual teacher and mentor. I'm a heart math coach. I'm an author of Awaken to a New World, and I'm an energy intuitive and multidimensional channel, and also the founder of the beginnings of the Quantum Hub, which basically is catering for parents, carers, educators, and covering neurodiversity, ADHD, autism, and the new consciousness. So there we are.
Well, it ties in very nicely when you're talking about the new consciousness, because I'm very much aware that, and I was talking to somebody this morning actually on a call to Australia, who feels very much the same as we do, that the business world is changing, that there is a new biz paradigm, that things need to happen, systems need to change for us all to thrive in business. And one of the biggest things, hence the title of our webinar, podcasts and website, Eco Not Ego Biz, it's all about removing the ego. Now, Helen, I know you know a lot about the ego and you've done a lot of work in that area. So enlighten us a little bit, because I know that this is very key to what I'm implementing in my own business with Beautiful and the Beautiful Life community and Eco Not Ego Biz. So share a little bit about what it is that you do on the ego and the work around that. That would be great.
Thank you. Yeah, so where we're at globally and the big shift with humanity right now is, dismantling old consciousness, which is very much housed in the ego, in the way that we think and how we create from that level of thinking. So for me, I've been on quite a journey with it. I have written little bits about it in my book. There is a chapter on the ego, and, I basically help people with the awakening process, and I share about my own continuous awakening process of dismantling the ego and looking at belief structures, which can be very, very deeply hidden in the subconscious. And just when you think you've found a belief, there's another level to it. So as we enter this new paradigm, we are the new paradigm. And so the systems that we're dismantling, although we see them out there on the 3D, are very much inside of us. We house everything, which is why it's imperative now for all of us to be looking at our own egos and dismantling and ultimately transcending it. It's going to be there. It's not that we just get rid of the ego. It's just that we transcend it into a higher consciousness, and therefore we are able to then create, which is, what you're doing with business.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I'm doing in every aspect. We're all doing it in every aspect of our life, but, we're here on the business side of it.
Yeah.
New paradigm. So, that's what I sort of help people with.
So, I mean, taking it from a sort of business perspective for a moment, because I know that we'll have a few business owners and listeners interested who are part of the community, but also outside of it at the moment, who are interested to know how that plays out in the business world. And I think the business model that has been and still exists to some extent is the ego really taking control. And it's all about the power, the money, how much is in it for me. And it's not taking into account the changes in the world that are happening and looking after the world that we live in, which is very much what I'm very passionate about with the Beautiful brand, looking at how we can change the systems that are in place, because it's when those systems change and we really start to take those apart and put them back together that I really think that's a really good sort of forward thinking. But a lot of this kind of new old thinking is old thinking. Yeah. It's not that new. I mean, there's a lot of ancient texts that talk about, how we can help each other. And, it's all about that community, that entrepreneurship and coming together, and that sharing of knowledge and how can I help the other person, that I think we need to embrace, and we are embracing in the businesses that we've created now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's absolutely about us all thriving, because, when we talk about whatever label you would like to put on it, is the universe, the all, there are many labels, is about us all thriving. And
It is. When one wins, we all win.
That's it.
Yeah.
The ultimate truth of it is that's how we were designed to be. But at some point, like you touch on old civilizations and things like that, which has been covered up for a long time, it was all there. Spirituality, the fundamentals of it, it's all there.
Yeah.
But so much of it has been distorted, which has, impacted the way that we think.
It's at the end of the day, the word is collaboration, isn't it? How can we come together as individuals, entrepreneurs, business owners, and communities? How can we come together to, build the new systems and pass on that legacy to the next generation? Because after all, we're all sort of custodians and caretakers right now. We've got, I know that you've got a daughter, I've got children who are now adults, but it's a world that, we want to contribute to in a positive way and help them moving forwards into their new world moving forward. So there's a lot kind of behind all of that. If there is somebody who's listening in who is not particularly into spirituality and doesn't believe in that aspect, is there anything that you can offer them as a way of saying, right, okay, well, there are changes coming, even if you don't believe spiritually that there's something going on? Is there something that you can offer them?
I think one of the biggest things, and from my own experience, although I came into this life aware with a knowing, there are many people that haven't quite accessed or allowed themselves to really sit with and feel with their own knowing, because that spark is within all of us. And so I find one of the best things to do is look at your understanding of religion and spirituality, because actually they're quite separated.
Yes.
And some of the religion can hold beliefs that are preventing you from really accessing your own truth within. So
are you talking about that little voice, that knowing, that gut feeling of things? Yeah.
And so, which many of us, as you know, have been conditioned to not listen to.
Yes. So for somebody who isn't necessarily tuned into or isn't aware of that spiritual aspect, that tapping into that gut feeling is something that everyone can use, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I know myself that I've ignored it at my peril at times. So that gut feeling is something that is your inner, like you say, your inner knowing and your inner voice to go, hang on a minute, this doesn't feel right, but hey, I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah.
But that listening to that voice actually is really important.
And also being discerning as to how much we are listening to other people.
Yes.
And yes, there's good guidance there sometimes, but if it's coming from an ego structure, it's not always going to serve you. And it's kind of, I find it would take me away from listening to my own inner first and then seeking the advice or guidance if it sits right. And that can be across the board with everything, and certainly in business now.
Yeah.
And just to tie in with, talk about your own sovereignty. You don't need to put a woo element on it, but actually within our own DNA structures, which is now being proven through quantum physics, we have our own sovereign instructions. So whether that comes through business, parenting, everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we, like you say, we have that ability to listen, and it's about us now going, do you know what? I'm going to have a go at listening to this first and then see what happens.
That's one of the things that I'm glad you touched on, personal sovereignty, because that's one of the key things that we've established into the core values of the Eco Not Ego Biz community, is that sovereignty. and respect at the end of the day. It comes down to personal sovereignty, but also recognizing that in others, which then hopefully people will understand that gives a level of respect to not only yourself, but to others around you. And I think once you've done that work yourself as well, I mean, we could talk about that and go off at a tangent another time, but once you've done that work, you are then more able to respect others and to, respect their personal sovereignty. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's basically an unlearning of everything you thought you knew from the old, which is what the old paradigm is.
And that's the message that's coming across in so many different ways, isn't it?
That's as simple as it is. Unlearning everything you thought you knew. Yeah. And so one of the things is, again, bring it into the business. I know nothing. Yeah. Been given all this and now I know nothing. And therefore more will come. More will be shown. Yeah. And it's trusting that.
Absolutely. I mean, my own personal business journey, if I look back at how I started with an idea of walking on the beach and seeing all the waste washed up along the shoreline, I never, ever set out to create a retail brand. But my journey has been to create that. It's been that revealing that, okay, well, what's next and what's next? And it's almost like that next step that you naturally follow. And you uncover all of these things along the way. I have made so many mistakes, encountering not only my own ego, but the ego of others, and how that has had a detrimental impact on my own business. So having and reevaluating and relooking at everything, once I've done that, the business that we now have is very different to the one that we started out with. Even though the values and the message are still the same, I've changed. And I think that's where people need to understand they are directly linked to whatever business they are growing. And if they haven't grown and they're not doing the work and they're not evolving and not reading the right materials and questioning everything and finding people who know more than they do, then you're going to get stuck. And I think that's one of the things I would like to impart to, everybody that's listening in, is that keep doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's paramount. Yeah. Paramount. And, I guess sometimes, I know for me, and I've had this conversation with somebody recently, in fact, one of my clients has messaged me, it's about having the willingness to look at your own ego, because, I constantly do this work. I still have an ego. It still wants to pop up. It's still, and I'm happy to look at it. Because if I don't look at it, I can't then step more into my own divine sovereignty and channel what is being guided. Yeah, because it's not about me. I'm like yourself. We had an idea. We've had things that we need to do, but I'm a vessel for it. I'm a vessel for it, just like you for the new paradigm.
Yeah, indeed.
And it is about letting go, making space for that, and get over yourself. I have to get over myself sometimes.
All the time.
With the humour.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And with humour. Absolutely. And also getting out of your own way sometimes. I mean, there are so many times where I've just gone, I can't do that. That's too much like hard work. Goodness gracious me, that is just going to take me far beyond my stress levels. But actually, if you're in the flow and you're enjoying what you're doing, because let's face it, we are, at work for a lot of our lives. So why do something that doesn't make you happy? Get involved with something that makes you happy, that puts a fire in your belly, that makes, you want to get up every day. And I found the things that I now enjoy in my business is put a completely different perspective on my everyday. It really has. And waking up every day with a smile on my face, and going, okay, this is a new day. What new opportunities are there? We can flip things all the time so that they're not as stressful as we originally thought they were. And sometimes the things that we do, we find, or think it, oh my gosh, that's going to be so difficult to do. But actually, when you get into it, get into the flow, there's so much enjoyment to be had. It's not as hard as you first thought it was. And that's where I've had to get out of my own way in business and gone, right, okay, I need to understand spreadsheets because I am not a mathematician, let me tell you. And that's one of the things I've had to try and get over. But I have, ChatGPT and AI has been absolutely like my little personal assistant. And there are things about it which I like and those that I don't, because there's a whole flip side to AI, which we'll touch on in another podcast. However, it is a little assistant to me right now. when I'm growing my business. So that's an assistant. But yeah, the things that can help make your life easier, but getting out of your own way, I think, is one of the biggest things I've learned. And it's helped me to grow my business by doing that.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it is, we have many strengths. And I know for me, it was like looking at what are my strengths actually, and what is it that I do struggle with that I wasn't willing to just hand over or surrender to, really. And that's been a recent thing in order for me to move forward now, is that, I struggle in this area with my brain.
Yes.
And, with the heart math stuff I use it for ADHD, I have my own experience with that. But I use it now in my business for me to become coherent and get creative. And actually, this is an area where I need assistance with what I'm good at.
Yeah.
And certainly now, as I'm writing the second book, because like you, I've just committed fully now to work with somebody to write this second book.
Fantastic.
And I had all of that. I had all of that, like you, when I'm thinking, oh God, am I going to be able to do it? And it's like, okay, let's just come back to now. Committed step by step. All right. I've got the assistance now. It's not all on me. And it wasn't all on me when I wrote the first book. I had assistance.
And I think that's sort of you saying coming back to the here and now, and just stop over projecting, stop overthinking, stop sort of putting too much in the future and all this big weight on yourself, and just get the work done in the here and now. And that's very much what I've been doing as well, is just to kind of sit with what I'm doing and really focus. And I think focus is really key. But I know that we've touched on in sort of private conversations that we've had, and I know it's a discussion that I find really interesting. Do we set things up for our future selves to catch up with? Now, I know that's a really big one, and certainly some people might not even be aware that that's kind of what we do, but we do it. There are certain unconscious things that we do that we arrive at and go, well, that was easy, or I made that easier on myself. But when I look back, I set some of that stuff up, a while back. So is that something that you're aware of? And I think you are too, and you've experienced yourself.
I mean, before I wasn't aware of it as much as I am now. But in these moments that we're in now, we get to choose in every moment. And the sort of power that we have within ourselves as creative beings is that we can be inside of ourselves and look at who we want to be. What does that future person look like? What does Nettie look like in 5 years' time? Not to set too many goals. Who do you want to be?
Absolutely.
Who do you want to be?
Yes.
And basically intention setting is so powerful, because we're setting intentions all of the time, whether that is consciously or unconsciously. And it will be mirrored back to you. And then opportunities will show themselves, which is why it's important to look at belief structures.
And the law of attraction.
The law of attraction, because if you're setting that intention, and then you're putting in blockers because you've still got some beliefs that you don't quite believe that somewhere. So that's the work to do, you see. But we have many, many future selves, because in the quantum field, which if you're not familiar with the quantum field, they're everything. There are every future you that you can choose.
It seems like that's a session at some point for a webinar as well, because I would love for you to explain a little bit more about the quantum field and quantum physics and how that all works. I mean, I'm a complete novice, to be honest with you, which is why it's so great to be having this conversation with you, to have a little bit more understanding about your work and what you do. And so if I were to come to you as a client, for example, because I know that you see individual clients and you work with groups and you work with young people, because that's a passion of yours as well. If I were to come to you as a client, what is it that I could potentially experience with you? And what is the sort of work that you do? So just so that people have got an idea that when they reach out to you and they want to connect with you, that they've got an awareness of what it is that you offer.
So basically, if I work one-to-one with somebody, so privately I work with one-to-one with anybody that would like a session, we will connect intuitively. So I will connect in with you first before our session, with your permission, remotely.
Okay.
So that I can feel into...
So I don't need to be around. I just need to
say it remotely
Helen,
as well.
It's absolutely fine for you to tune into me on that level that you work on,
Mm.
and you can go ahead and get some kind of prior information.
Because on a higher level, you will be giving me that information, which
Okay,
is why
and
I
that's
ask for your
permission.
permission.
Yes.
So then I will get an idea of what you're wanting to bring to that session. So let's say then we do it face to face, or I do it online with people. It makes no difference to me. It will come forward. And then we will work together with the energies for what rises up in you, what needs looking at. The heart has more neural activity than the brain. Okay.
Interesting.
So I think it has about 40,000 neurons, and it will instruct the brain. So rather than us running off the brain to do on the programming, we allow ourselves to come into the heart, brings us back into the moment. And there are things that I will take people through to ask, like we do, and it will come through. But if you're too much up here, you're not going to get the answers. And so, and it helps us to self-regulate, regulate emotions, and yeah, but they're very, very simple tools and techniques to live in the moment to bring you back.
And it sounds like it's something that could work quite quickly for people. I mean, I've worked as a counsellor and therapist myself, and have been in personal therapy throughout my life in several different ways on a voyage of personal discovery.
Yeah.
Is it something that takes less time? Is it something that, will be something that, it could have quite quick results?
Yeah. So part of it is, if you're willing to do the practices, you will see the benefits.
Yeah.
Quite quickly. So, and then what it does, what I've experienced, because I use it all of the time, is it becomes a default setting. So I'm able to go pause before I go into something, ask.
Yeah.
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 And get my alignment. And what I mean by alignment is that the information that wants to flow through me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's less of the being in the doing, which comes from the thinking, but more in the alignment of what actually needs to be happening to be in flow.
Okay.
So there's so much to it.
So, Helen, to conclude, what is it, or where can people get hold of you? What are your details, and where can they get hold of your book?
Okay, so they can get hold of my book, Awaken to a New World, My Journey from Surrender to Sovereignty. You can get it on Amazon, paperback and Kindle, and you can also get it on the Lulu platform. And if you would like to contact me in regards to sessions, you can find me on Instagram, Helen L. Fisher, and LinkedIn. And also, if you are interested in anything that the Quantum Hub will be offering, there is an Instagram page, the Quantum Hub UK.
Great.
And a LinkedIn page for that.
Fantastic. And you're also part of the Eco Not Ego Biz platform and community that we're building. So if anybody wants to come and join us and they've liked what they've heard today and want to connect with other members there, it's econotegobiz.com. I'm Nettie Wilson. I'm also on LinkedIn, and also I'm the founder and creator of the beautiful brand. So my profile is also on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with Helen or myself, please do. Thank you for listening in today. We've really enjoyed our chat, haven't we?
Yeah.
We're definitely going to do more.
Yeah.
So, we can, you'll see this podcast on our YouTube channel. It's going to be uploaded to our new YouTube channel. That's a mouthful. And it will also be available on our Eco Not Ego Biz platform. And I'm sure we'll be sharing clips of it out also on our social media, Helen, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for listening, and bye for now.